Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I will be doing another one of my Q&As where I also have video of working on one of the new flowers for my Etsy shop. And before I get started, I do want to let you know that the shop should either be reopened now or opening today with the original series of flowers in it. You can go check it out, the link is in the description, and the new ones will be released in November with calendars being released in between, so just stay tuned. Both the Etsy shop and my newsletter for updates are linked in the description below. Now I'm going to answer some questions, and I went to Instagram and got some more because I struggled with the ones I had left over from last time. And I'm just going to rapid fire through them, starting with the earliest all the way through to see how many I can get done in the 21 minutes that this video entails. So let's see. Number one, what do you do when you need a creative spark? Generally speaking, I limit the number of supplies that I'm going to use, and I try doing something that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, or I'll do my old trick of splashing some ink or some watercolor down and then making a flower out of it. Both of those things help to reinvigorate me a little bit when I am feeling kind of meh about art. What are you and the family doing to commemorate Loki's time with y'all? We are going to be picking up his ashes and putting them with his paw print on a little Loki shrine on the tall bookshelf in our living room, high enough so that if he was there, he'd be able to look out the window. You stop at a gas station for road trip snacks. 3 food, 1 drink. What are you picking? Well, if it's a Love's, I'm picking the peeled mandarin oranges because those saved my ass when I had no air conditioning in the desert. A Snickers bar, some Cheez-Its, and probably some Reese's Pieces because fuck yeah. And then for drink, depending on what time of day it is, it'll either be a water or a Dr. Pepper. If it's the morning and I need the caffeine, I'll get the Dr. Pepper. If it's the afternoon, I'm probably dehydrated. If you could relive one experience in your life, what would you pick? I'm not really sure which experience. All I know is I would love to see my parents again. Something with my parents. Do you have a favorite room or space in your new house? My backyard. I love my new house, but there is something very soothing about sitting in my backyard. I also really love my kitchen. How do you motivate to exercise when it causes you pain or discomfort? Well, that's actually the fun part about getting the Peloton, is that it doesn't really cause me pain because I had them adjust it so that I was still going to have good form, but I wouldn't be bending over too much and squishing my kidneys. Doing things that aren't on the bike, though, that's a little harder for me to motivate for. And if I'm going to be in pain or if I'm in discomfort, I'm just not going to do it. And honestly, as somebody in chronic pain with chronic illness, as much as exercising is important for improving my cardiovascular health enough for transplant, I also don't want to put myself on my back for a week. So if I think it's going to be bad news, I'm not going to bother. But I think the key is to find something that you enjoy that doesn't cause you pain. Are the kiddos still in band in the new school? Hashtag band parents rock. No. RJ wanted to take a break after the last year of not being in school at all. It kind of soured high school band for him. And Kat swapped over to choir and is currently in the advanced treble choir. What are your thoughts on the Amish? Asking for a friend. I don't really have any thoughts on the Amish. Most of my Amish knowledge comes from Weird Al's Amish Paradise, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. How do you cope with work and stay semi-productive on migraine days? Mine are so bad. Sheer force of will. Generally speaking, any, quote, productivity I get in on a migraine day is something like I have to do. Like one day I had a migraine, I had to pick up my kids because Jesse couldn't pick them up. I got through that and then I went and I fucking collapsed. So generally speaking, I don't try to be productive on migraine days unless there's something I absolutely have to do. And then it's basically like dragging myself through life until I can get to my bed and a quiet room and a cold washcloth on my neck. How many times do you Peloton per week? Do you do their additional workouts? I am trying to sort of hit the every other day sort of mentality because I think it is the most helpful for me and my joints and everything to not overdo it. I do dabble in their other workouts, mainly yoga. I'm about to start trying their prenatal yoga because of how big my kidneys are, and stretching. I'm kind of wary of the strength exercises and the some of the other exercises because I have to be very careful of hurting my kidneys, hurting my fistula, everything else. So for now, it's mainly the bike, and stretching and meditation has been sort of something I've been working with a little bit. I would love to hear you talk a bit more about your UU church and how you discovered it. Technically, I'm between UU churches right now because I'm not in Napa anymore, and our new church that we're interested in here hasn't started in-person services again, which is totally fine. But I don't really feel like trying to get to know people via Zoom when I haven't met them yet. I'm not social enough for that. But I found my church because I was looking for something to help my kids get some basis in different religious traditions without telling them what to believe, as well as looking for somewhere that I could get some more social justice work in. And that's how I found the UU Church in Napa, and we loved being a part of it, and I miss them. What has been your biggest personal learning through this pandemic? I really, really hate it when my work routine is disrupted. I never realized just how much I liked the quiet of my house when nobody else was home until everybody was home all the time. It's not a big learning, but it's something I learned about myself. What are you most proud of from 2021? You've been through so much hell. Moving without going on to dialysis, I think, was a big deal for me. I've lived in California my whole life, so moving to another state during a pandemic while in kidney failure was something I'm very proud of. I know you've read Wheel of Time. How did you feel about the books Brandon Sanderson wrote, and have you read any of his other books? For those of you who don't know, The Wheel of Time is a very long, very epic fantasy series with a TV show coming out in November, and the author Robert Jordan died before he could finish it, so they handpicked Brandon Sanderson to finish writing the series out because it was fairly close to the end. I actually really liked his books. I thought he did a good job. I think he did as good a job as anybody could. I did feel the first of his 3 books that he wrote, you could tell he was kind of like still figuring out how to get into the voice of it. And I don't think he ever really got his writing really wrapped around Matt's character. And Matt's one of my favorite characters, so I noticed that. But in general, I thought he did an excellent job, and he brought it in for a landing, and I am grateful for him. I have not read any of his other books. I've heard I would love them. I have The Way of Kings, but I just have not had it in me to start another fantasy epic anytime right now. What was the cost of living change moving from California to Colorado? Honestly, there were a few things like gas and some other stuff that is less, but there were other things like water where it's actually more expensive. So I think it kind of came out in the wash. The one big difference is that we sold our old house and bought this new house for about the same amount of money, and it's the change in how much house we have is pretty huge, literally. Any advice for someone who wants to be self-employed? Well, first of all, don't try to buy a house right after you quit your job. I did that. Not a good idea. But generally speaking, you should have a good plan in place before you quit whatever full-time job you actually have, if that is something you are able to do. That's my biggest piece of advice, because while I quit my job and sort of jumped into things, I had been building a YouTube channel and doing freelance work for a few years at that point. And so I was able to kind of do that in a way where I had not been starting from scratch. Best family scary movie. I have a 6-year-old who loves scary stuff. Oh God, I'm a terrible person to ask this because I was reading Stephen King when I was 8. For scary movies that are scary but not like terrifying for 6-year-olds. Ooh, I don't know, man. I remember watching this movie on the Disney Channel when I was a kid called Mr. Boogedy that scared the living... Mr. Boogedy, and what was the one? I think it was called Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Was that the one with the banshee? Those movies scared the bejesus out of me. But honestly, it's not Halloween movies, but like The Dark Crystal, The Neverending Story, and Labyrinth. Those movies can be scary for little kids. I can't believe they're marketed as kids' movies, but at the same time, they're a lot of fun. I could be way off on all of this. I'm not the best person to ask. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, or third option, Freddy Krueger. Fucking Michael Myers, dude. I have an oil painting of him in my house. If I had to rank them, it would be Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and then Jason Voorhees, because that's just the ranking, but I love all 3 of them. What's this about a dog? Yeah, we had already been in the process of trying to find a dog before we even knew we were moving to Denver. The Denver move threw that all into into disarray, and then finding out Loki was sick again threw that into disarray. But now Jesse is starting the process of working with a rescue here in town. They're going to come interview us and check out the house. It's very important to us that we find a dog that is right for our family and right for Lucy especially. So, but that's our hope. Our hope is for a golden retriever or a Labrador retriever. Could you talk about how your parenting has been most influenced by your health? I think the two big things that have really influenced my parenting having to do with my health are, one, the fact that because I'm in chronic pain and because I'm exhausted, my temper is not always under control, and I can be very short-tempered with my kids. Even when they deserve a little bit of a snark, they don't always deserve all of the snark I have for them, and that can be really hard for me and something that we've had to have open communication about. The other thing, especially considering that my disease is genetic and both my kids could have it, is that it has been very important to me to be as open as I can with my kids about it. Jesse actually manages to stop me if I get a little too open and it's stressing them out. But it's very important to me that we have real conversations about it so that if they do wind up being sick, it's not something that's going to completely shatter them the way it did my sister and I when we found out we had PKD right after my dad died from it. Best food item at Trader Joe's. My favorite food item there? I fucking love their frozen mac and cheese. It is goddamn glorious. There's a lot of stuff I like there, but the frozen mac and cheese is extremely high on my list of favorites. Have you always been a planner, or did you develop that later in life out of necessity? I have always been a planner. The level to which I have planned has changed throughout the years, but I've always done it. Creative planning kind of came into my life later, mainly because I was doing art for my job at Trader Joe's, and I needed a creative outlet that I still felt justified to use, and being creative while being productive, which, by the way, is not necessary, but at the time, that's how I justified it. Any suggestions on separating amicably? We're still friends, but I'm having a really hard time. Honestly, I don't know if I have any good suggestions for this. I will say, though, that if you're having a hard time being just friends, then maybe being just friends is not something that is healthy for you right now, and you should step away from it altogether and maybe come back to it at a later date when you can be a little less attached. How do you manage energy with being chronically ill and a mom? How to get it all done? A, I don't get it all done. And B, I have to be upfront and honest with my family as much as I can about how I'm feeling and when I need help. That is something I tell myself, but I'm not very good at. You can ask anyone in my family about it. But that is a key. The weeks where things are really bad for me, if I don't ask my family for help, then I feel like shit and nobody's happy. But when they notice or when I'm able to ask them for help, then things go a little bit better. So asking for help and recognizing you're not going to get it all done. So getting better and better at prioritizing the things that have to get done is so helpful. Any accessories on your Peloton? No. I use my earbuds and I have the shoes. That's about it. Will you still do fuckery vinyl stickers? I got a hole in an H2O bottle that needs some fuckery. Yes. As a matter of fact, I will. I'll be selling when the shop opens today. There will be 4 packs of fuckery stickers with the rose, the sunflower, the stargazer, and the hydrangea. And then gift with purchase will be one of 2 of the new flowers, either the camellia or the succulent. So yes, there are fuckery stickers. Thoughts on the best ways to set goals for things that don't have an end, like keep my relationships strong. If you can't set a goal with an ending on it or like a finite possibility, one of the things I learned from Sarah Cannon in the HB90 bootcamp was to see if you could quantify it in some other way. For example, I'm trying to set boundaries around work. That doesn't necessarily have an end date. I really need to just keep doing that. So what I'm quantifying is the number of days that I work within the hours that I planned to work. Like if I allot myself 8 hours, did I work 8 hours or less? Yes, I get a thumbs up. No, then I don't get a thumbs up. And then I average out that many days and I give myself like benchmarks to meet. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to, I guess it just depends on how you're able to set some benchmarks for yourself. That might be something to think about. Best washi tape in terms of quality. I really love Simply Gilded's washi. I love that they have foil that doesn't peel back on itself. But honestly, the best washi is like the Japanese stuff that you can get in like fancy Japanese stores like Kinokuniya. Most underrated and overrated horror movie. Well, I don't know about overrated, but I really dislike any kind of torture porn movies. Like Hostel to me is hot garbo. I really hate it. As for underrated, I am a big fan of the movie Parents from the 80s. It has Randy Quaid in it. It's like a very 50s black comedy movie about these parents who are cannibals. And I think it's fucking way underrated. How has it been meeting new people in Colorado? Tips for making adult friends? I don't have an answer for you yet. I have still mainly been staying home because of the pandemic, and I have not figured out ways to get out of the house just yet to meet new people, although I have gone out and met people that I already know. What helps you best with your pain? I'm in hell of pain constantly from cancer. Not much. Sleep, and if I can get sleep, then that's the thing. I have tramadol, but that only takes the edge off. The thing that helps me sleep the most, which is the thing that keeps me out of pain the most, is taking a pot gummy that is 1-to-1 parts of CBD and THC. But it's legal here, so that's why I'm able to get it so easily. Is it possible to paint with watercolors if one can't draw? Yes. You could do abstracts, you could do coloring pages, or you could just blob watercolor down and see what happens. Like, that's how I learned. Recommend some music, please. Ooh, there's a lot there, but currently my two top musics that I have been like on top of is I'm like just loving on the Bee Gees in general, and Talking Heads are my two. The Bee Gees and Talking Heads are my two like most listened to listens, although Muse is always right up there. I'm in Denver. Can we be friends? Yes. When the pandemic has started to settle down a little bit, or maybe even before, DM me. If you feel comfy, do either of your children have learning disabilities? If so, how do you parent to help them? I was recently diagnosed and my mom's having trouble figuring out what to change. I actually don't have any tips for you on this, but we are suspicious that one of my kids does have some sort of a learning disability, and we are in the process of trying to get them psych tested. So I don't know right now, but maybe later I will. So good luck to you. How do you like Denver so far, even though you haven't been through the snow days yet? I love it. I'm excited for the snow. Of course, that might change. How do you organize your digital stuff? How do you keep things in order? I am not that great at it. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a hot mess. That's my best answer for you on that. What Instant Pot recipes do you use? Where do you find them? Check out my Pinterest. It's linked below. There is a board called Instant Pot recipes, and I mainly find them from just searching Instant Pot and then whatever it is I'm looking for on Pinterest. How are you feeling working out? Noticing any changes, not only physically but mentally? I'm noticing both, mainly mentally, but physically I am noticing that I am doing better on the bike, which has been nice. Are you going to do another doodle book? Maybe. I don't know. Any tips for hiring domestic help? Haven't done it yet. Not adulting, knowing cleaning because of hoarder parents. What are you proud of yourself for learning since? I learned I liked vacuuming, and that seems small, but it's a big deal for me. Now that I have a cordless vacuum, it's a lot easier on my body. Did my Baron Fig leather cover fit your Scribbles That Matter? I haven't tried it yet, but I'm 90% certain it will because the Baron Fig journal is a slightly larger size. How are you so cool also keeping stress low with moving? I have no idea on both counts. Do your Kanban Post-its stick? I always have trouble with the little ones sticking. Currently, they're sticking okay. The more I stack them on there, the higher chance they have of falling off, which is why I don't put the garbage can that I throw them away in under the board, because if they fall, then it's obvious that they fell. Best Bujo you've used? I don't know, man. I'm loving my current Scribbles That Matter, but they don't make that paper anymore. So I would say that original Scribbles That Matter 100 GSM paper is my absolute favorite, and I will be sad when this one is done. So that is all the questions I have right now. I actually got through all of them with the exception of a couple of them that were either repeats or I'm just going to answer privately. As for this piece, I did it on printmaking paper Reeves BFK. I started with a couple of layers of watercolor to add depth and then used Prismacolor colored pencils on top, as well as a Holbein white pencil that I'm using right here that was just recommended to me by a YouTuber and artist named Kendall Hillegas. It took me probably a few hours to actually do this in total, but it was over several sessions. And all of the blending I did was using mineral spirits to smooth out the colored pencils. If you are interested in purchasing this, it will be in my shop in November. In the meantime, there are other prints and postcards and stickers available in the shop right now, linked in the description. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear any additional questions that you have in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, peace out.